Natasha. Thanks for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Wisdom Wonder Project Little Wonders Preschool. Now, don't let that name fool you. The Little Wonders Preschool actually encompasses 3 different years of full curriculum, which is pre-K and preschool, pre-K, and kindergarten. I have been using the kindergarten with my youngest daughter, so that's kind of specifically what I'm talking about. But all the years are going to kind of follow the same realm and style, but of course the difficulty level will get harder as you go up. So I have been using the kindergarten with my youngest daughter, like I said, and this is September's, which is the month we have been using it in. Now, basically how this works is when you subscribe to the Wisdom Wonder Project each month, you can download that month's materials. So it is a downloadable curriculum. Now, there are additional supplies and books that you will need, and I have tips for all of that in just a moment. But I want to talk about the 3 components to this curriculum. So there are 3 main curriculum pieces that go with this. So there's first the literature study, and that's kind of what I think of as like your core. There's going to be a book every week that you're reading, and you're going to read it every day, and then there's all kinds of correlating activities to go along with that book. There's poetry and art and blocks and math and sensory and nourishment and nature and fine motor and journaling, all based upon that book. Now, it does give you a sample schedule, which I will flip around the camera in just a little bit and show you inside so you can see the sample schedule and things like that. But of course, you can tweak it however you like. So after the literature unit, there is a block play curriculum, and that is what you can think of as your math curriculum. As we know, at this age, kids really learn through play. So of course, playing with blocks is a wonderful way for them to learn spatial reasoning and all of that. Now, in the block play, there is also a featured book. So you're not just reading the book with the literature, but you're also reading a book with your block play. And there's additional recommended books as well. So there's a book of the month for the block play versus the book of the week with the literature. So book of the week for literature, but book of the month for the block play. There's vocabulary, mapping, building, and puzzle and shape activities for the block play. There's also extension activities if you want to take it even further. Now, the third component of this curriculum is the Little Masters curriculum. And that, as you might have guessed, is basically the art curriculum. So not only does it focus on a specific element each month, but it also focuses on an artist of the month and a work of art by that artist. And so they're going to have, again, a book. So let's review that. They have a book of the week for literature, book of the month for block play, and book of the month for Little Masters. There's also an element of the month that they're going to be focusing on in September. That element was shape. There's also the study of the famous work that I mentioned, and exploring color and artist-inspired activities. Again, there is recommended and required products that you will need to complete this portion of the curriculum as well. Now, let's take a look inside so I can show you a little bit more. So here's what it looks like inside. We have the flow and scheduling, finding success in the journey, and a sample schedule. Now, this is just a sample schedule for the literature portion. It doesn't include for the blocks and for the Little Masters. In those sections, there's another sample schedule. So you kind of want to put all 3 sample schedules together to figure out what your weeks might look like. It talks about the book of the week, the author and the illustrator introduction, and the book summary, the story discussion, poetry, art, blocks, and math, sensory nourishment, nature, fine motor, and journaling. So this is a basic overview of the things that are included in the curriculum, along with materials, recommended products, recommended books, and other books by the author. Now, these materials are suggested throughout the entire curriculum that you'll be using over and over. Now we get into the actual month of September. So this is the curriculum for the month of September. The 4 books that we'll be using is Harold and the Purple Crayon, King Bidgood's in the Bathtub, A Sick Day for Amos McGee, and How to Make an Apple Pie and See the World. So then the first week it goes into Harold and the Purple Crayon, and then it gives us the discussion, poetry, art, math, sensory, snack, nature, and fine motor. Now it tells all these little symbols at the beginning, but since I was just getting used to them, I actually wrote them down so I didn't forget what everything was. And then we see, oh, and the journaling. So you're going to keep a journal, like you want one of those spiral bound artist journals, because the kids will be keeping a journal throughout, and you'll have this beautiful keepsake that at the end of the year, they will have journaled their way through all of these beautiful books. So that's really quite priceless. Now, let's take a look at the materials list. So the required materials are these right here. And then I'll list all these other materials that you need too. Now, for example, I didn't buy this box of purple crayons. I just took a purple crayon out of our crayon box, and I didn't buy these purple labels. I went to Dollar Tree and I bought some other labels. I basically looked, okay, what was the point of these labels? What activity were they being used in? And is there an alternative that is cheaper? And that's how I did it. Now, for that particular activity, it was putting your name, the kid's name on cardboard, and then they were taking the stickers and they were putting the stickers on their name. So it was a fine motor activity. Now, of course, purple is best because it's Harold and the Purple Crayon, but I found some dot stickers at Dollar Tree that served the same purpose, that were all different colors. So to me, that was okay. Would purple have been better? Yes, but I may do with the Dollar Tree dot stickers. And then I just started marking off at the beginning. When I went through the entire thing, I marked off all the things I had, so then I would know what I needed to buy. Now, typically, I didn't buy any of the recommended products. If I already had some of the recommended products, then great. But if I didn't have them, no big deal. Like, I wasn't going to go buy a Harold t-shirt, for example. There's always recommended books that have to do kind of with that topic or that theme. But then there's other books by that author, too. So those don't necessarily go with the theme, but if you like that author's style, here's some other books that you could read by that author. And so that's how all the weeks work. So it gives you all the different activities each week, and then the materials list. And so how you know what activities to do, you can make up your own schedule, or you can do it like it says in the sample schedule. So that is the literature unit. That's how the literature unit works. So there's the book, all the different activities, and the materials list that you need. Okay, so then we also have a couple printables, which I liked. So we have the September poem, so they're working on memorizing this poem all month. And then there is a Play-Doh recipe, or you could use Play-Doh that you already had. That's another thing I did, is you're supposed to make Play-Doh with lavender and make it purple, and honestly, we just used the purple Play-Doh that we already had. So you can do what you need to do to make this work for you. Now we had this bathtub pattern, and so we already had pattern blocks, so that wasn't a problem. And then map. So this kind of stuff I like because I just printed all this and put it in the binder. But for the map and the pattern blocks template here for the bathtub, I could print those out and then laminate them and then reuse them. And so I really like that aspect too, that I can print what I need. I don't actually have to print out this whole thing. I can do my planning on the computer, and I really only need to print the pages that I need. But for the sake of this review, I wanted to print out everything. But I think that the pages that I will, going forward, print out are the materials pages, so I can mark off like I already did, and the student pages that you might need when those are in there. Okay, so then we have the block play, and this is for September. And so again, it kind of talks about the author and then the flow and scheduling and finding success. And then here's the sample schedule for the block play. So you have to combine that with the sample schedule from the literature and then the little masters, which you'll see in just a bit. And so there's the why behind the collection, getting started, and then it talks about how we have the book of the month, the book overview, vocabulary, mapping, building, puzzles, and shapes. Those are the things that are included in this curriculum, and the extension activities. So then we actually get into the materials that you'll need across the board throughout the year, and then we get into this month's book, which is The Little House. Gives a book overview, the vocabulary, mapping, and you can see here under mapping, there's multiple activities. Activity 1, Activity 2, and then building. Activity 1, Activity 2, puzzles and shapes. Activity 1, Activity 2, extension activities 1 and 2 and 3. Then again, we have a materials page. And so again, when I first got this, I marked all the materials I already had. Then I knew what I needed to borrow, buy, or repurpose. Again, we have the recommended products and the recommended books. And again, I already had a laminator and laminating pouches. Now, I do recommend having a laminator and laminating pouches if you do use this curriculum too, but they aren't absolutely necessary. But I didn't go out and buy cars and, you know, Melissa and Doug doll family, I just used what we already had on hand. And then we get into the Little Masters. This is your art curriculum, basically. And so we have, again, the sample schedule here, which you would put, again, with the blocks play and the literature play. So you have to create your whole weekly schedule based on all three components and whatever else you're choosing to do in your homeschool. Now, here we have a book overview, element of the month, vocabulary, exploring color, element, activities and projects, artist of the month, and study a famous work, and the artist-inspired activities. That's what this Little Masters program contains. Then we get into the materials you will need throughout the curriculum. Then we get into September's where we have the book overview. The book this month was Sandy's Circus, which I absolutely love. I've never heard of the book before, and I can't believe I've never heard of it. It is a fantastic book. So this element of the month was shape and vocabulary words, and then we have exploring color. We have a couple activities. My daughter really loved these activities because they all had to do with like little droppers and food dye, and so she just thought that was so fun, mixing the colors. And then we have the element activities and projects, you know, geometric shape sandwich, a shape mobile, and then we have the artist of the month, study a famous work, and the artist inspired project. So then we have the materials here that, again, you need, and I marked off what I had, and then some of these things like collected materials, cereal boxes, cans, oatmeal container, paper towel, I didn't mark them off even though I knew you would have those things, but that told me when I literally got this and went through the entire thing at the beginning of the month, actually before the month started, which I recommend you do because it gives you an overview of what your month's going to look like and what you need to be kind of mentally preparing for. So I knew like, oh, don't throw that cereal box away. We're going to need that sort of thing. So I didn't mark it off because I wanted to know, hey, I need to save that type of material. And so that's kind of how my brain worked on that. And then the recommended products and the recommended books. So that is what this curriculum encompasses. Now let's go back to it. As you can see, there are tons of required and recommended materials and books in order to utilize this curriculum. Now I wanted to tell you some tips of things that I did to keep the cost a little bit lower so you're not spending all this money. The first thing I did was I actually went through the entire curriculum and I did mark all of the things that I already had. So I went through and just put a check by each material that I already had. Then I looked at the other materials and I decided, could I borrow this from somebody? Could I repurpose something else to suit this need? Or do I need to buy it? And that's how I evaluated things. And actually, really, I didn't need to buy much. The books, I borrowed all the books from the library, so that wasn't a problem at all. I also borrowed materials from friends and just put a little shout out to friends like, hey, does anybody have this they're getting rid of? And I actually got some responses and people gave me things such as an ice cube tray. I didn't have an ice cube tray, but I had a friend who said, yeah, here you go, here's a white ice cube tray that I needed. And really, you don't have to have everything that's recommended in here. And so I really took time to look through the curriculum to decide what exactly that I needed and what was going to be most beneficial and what I thought my daughter would also like the most, because I took that all into consideration. I wasn't going to buy something if I thought we were only going to use it one time. But this curriculum does tell you the things that you will need over and over and over again. And maybe you'll start off by borrowing them and then realize, you know what, this is something I actually want to own myself. Or maybe you'll fall in love with one of the books and you'll realize this is a book I would love to own, but you could always check it out from the library first to see. And so that's kind of how I'm treating it, is just looking, do I have it already? Is it something I absolutely need? Can I repurpose something? Can I borrow it? And if not, do I need to buy it? And that's kind of how the scale I kind of go off of in order to help save money on this curriculum. But I absolutely love this curriculum. It is right up my alley. It's right up my daughter's alley. My daughter is very crafty and hands-on. I mean, she just loves crafts. She crafts all day long, basically. So this curriculum is perfect for her because there's all kinds of opportunities for her to make crafts and for her to really dig in to what she's learning about versus just hearing and seeing it. She's doing it. And so for us, this has literally been a perfect fit. But really, you're learning so much through this. The literature, everything kind of ties together. The literature encompasses blocks, play, and even art, and there's journaling activities. So they're learning to write, they're learning to look at nature, they're learning to eat healthy. So it's not just like this one thing. Everything is tied together in this beautiful package. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the description box of where you can check out the Little Wonders Preschool from the Wisdom Wonder Project. I'm also going to leave a link to the Homeschool Review Crew blog where you can see lots of other moms and their experiences with their children with the Wisdom Wonder Project. And so you can see if this might be a good fit for your family. So thank you to Wisdom Wonder Project and the Homeschool Review Crew. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.